Hello, it's Richard Haggerty. So, what works best to quit smoking? That's a really interesting question. What works best to, stop smoking? Because there's so many people out there vaping. They're smoking cigarettes. They want to be able to stop smoking for good. So, out of all the choices out there, what is that could work best for you? Okay, what is it that actually works when you're going through all the choices about what you could do to quit smoking? The good news is that you can start off, and it's not quite as hard as you might think if you look at all the things that don't work to stop smoking. So we want to look at some of the things that absolutely don't work so that you know you're going to make a more informed choice, okay? Because you're not going to be wasting time on all the things that simply are just not going to get you to the place where you want to quit smoking. So let's dive in. When we think about stopping smoking and you're quitting smoking, first thing to realize is that there are a ton of things that don't work. Look, I see people every day who go to support groups where people say, I'm praying for you. Just add willpower. Just want it enough. And I'm sorry, I see those people month after month, year after year from afar, not doing anything differently and making the same mistakes. It's like people who say that they want to lose weight and join a group, and they go year after year and really incrementally they might lose a few pounds, but then they put it back on again. We want to break the cycle, and it's important to realize that a hope, a prayer, just doing the things that you've done before and hoping it's going to work is not going to turn you into a non-smoker. You need to do something different. You've got to do something different. So the trap, the big trap, I think, with all the things out there is that people who've tried things before or learned something before, heard something from a book or seen some group support or read something on a government website, and they think that they have to stick with that plan. They have to stick with that when they've failed month after month, year after year, or something their friend says or their neighbour says, without getting good advice, without getting the support. Because what works best to stop smoking is not going to do the very thing that you've been doing before. If it's failed, okay, if you failed before and it's not worked for you, you've got to go and do something different. You know what I mean? It's really important that you take a step back and realize that just a hope and a prayer is not going to get you to quit smoking. The fantastic thing is that if you look at it and you look at all the things that haven't worked and that aren't working for people, you'll then find a very few things that do work. So those things that work will be very, very consistent. A change in thinking, getting support, having a solid plan in place, and totally doing something different from what you've done before. I mean, look, we have clients who we work with who within 20 minutes are non-smokers, and they tell us this, they're non-smokers after smoking for 10, 20, 30 years, 20 a day, and that's it, and they stop for the rest of their life. Why? Because they're doing something different, because the thinking has changed. All right, they planned to make a change now. So this change is really what it's all about. Quitting smoking is about taking the time really to shift your thinking, to get a little bit more educated about the different options that are out there, okay? And for me, the simplest rule of thumb is to take a step back and look at the people who've changed, right? Listen to people who've changed, listen to their testimonials and see what's happened. Now, when I say listen to those people, don't listen to someone who tells you, oh, I have to use willpower every day. Oh, I've got cravings. Oh, it's very, very difficult. Oh, it's so hard. I spend my life making it hard. Do not listen to that person. Listen to the person who says, you know what? I don't smoke anymore. I barely even remember it. I don't even think about it. And I've had so much more energy and I had so much more confidence and I'm so much happier. That's the person to listen to, because that's the person you want to be when you quit smoking, become a non-smoker. So really, in terms of what works best for stopping smoking, there are still different ways that people can do it. Okay, but the thing is, if you want to move towards becoming a non-smoker is somebody who has energy to do the things they want to do in life. They enjoy their life, they're happy, they don't spend their time fighting cravings, they don't spend their time struggling with willpower. They just go, they get it done, they make the change, and they get on with their life. Isn't that really what you want? I mean, doesn't that make sense? Because you've struggled for long enough and you want to make a change. So when you know that there's a way that you can live without fighting the willpower, fighting cravings, struggling with willpower, doesn't it make sense to do that so you can quit smoking now, so you can stop smoking today? That's really what we want. That's really what's possible for you. So the basic mechanism of changing, stopping smoking, so you don't have things like weight gain, you don't have cravings, you don't have to struggle with willpower, is that it has to be an internal inner change that will change the way that you feel about that has been driving you to smoke in the past. Okay, and things that are driving you, well, there may be boredom, might be anxiety, might be stress, might just be an empty habit. There's something inside you that drives you to do the habit. Okay, so when we change that inside, well, then you don't need the habit. You don't need to do it. You don't even need to think about it because it's been addressed. Okay, and you can address that very, very quickly. How can you address that very quickly? Inside you, there are you have, should we say, your subconscious, your unconscious mind is working to do so many things for you. All the information that you know in life, how to walk, how to talk, your native language, the skills you've learned, how to breathe, all these things happen and they're managed in this vast emporium of resources in your inside of you. Okay, and it's quite complex and there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of imagery, but things tend to happen and get linked together. Okay, so when your mind thinks that there's one way that you need to do things or a main way to do things to be able to get that inner payoff, it tends to do that by default, just as it's managing the whole process. But it's very amenable, actually, to making a change. You just need to be able to communicate with your subconscious. So, how do you communicate with your subconscious mind? Well, that's great. There are people out there who know, there are stop smoking experts who know very, very powerfully and reliably how to communicate with your subconscious, how to make a change. All right, and you really want to find somebody who specializes in that, someone you like, somebody you trust, somebody who's got testimonials, somebody who's got decades of experience, who knows how to communicate with your unconscious so that you can make a change. This emotional part that links things together, because that's what works best to quit smoking. You see, otherwise you're just relying on a wing and a prayer, or hope, or willpower, or struggling with cravings, or just the what we call in the UK the British bulldog spirit to try and make a change, and that drains you, and eventually there'll come a time when there's too much stuff coming at you and you just don't have the reserves inside to stay a non-smoker. So make sure that whatever you're doing, what's best is changing your thinking, having a plan in place, and getting some support. You're going to be going through this change very, very quickly when you find someone who can work with you to help you to change the internal triggers. Remember, it's the internal stuff that drives you. What doesn't work for stopping smoking is just leaving things as they are, trying to do things that you did before, or struggling with willpower. Okay, trying to force yourself through cravings. Okay, you want to break those forever. When you break those, you can break them quickly, you can break them easily, you can become a non-smoker, and you can quit smoking today.